Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Tuesday Talks with Ashley Hanna and Angelo Datseris. Today we're going to be talking about some key metrics from the 2020 real estate, that real estate, insights that just came up. And here is Angelo. Hey,
Hey, what's up, Ash? What's going on?
how's it going?
It's going. Getting this week. Going to have that long weekend, so just trying to get back in the groove.
That's right.
How about you?
So, yeah, the same. I'm just going over some stats that we can kind of go into as well, from December and kind of like what we're anticipating for the first quarter of 2021.
Okay, let's get right into it. What stats you
Yeah.
got?
Well, so I was looking at the stats from December, and so some things that I thought were important that stood out. So the new listings for December were up considerably from prior year, which is a great sign. Almost over 18% they were up from prior year. I
Wow.
think I thought that was pretty notable. For the year though, they were down barely. Barely they were down for the year. It's down by 1.5% for the year from prior year.
Interesting. Now, is
Isn't
that
that
nationally or is that local?
No, that's Charlotte metro
That's
area.
Charlotte.
So,
Okay.
yep. And the pending sales are up from prior year and also year to date. And then closed sales are up. The days on market are down, obviously, since we are in a seller's market. The average sales price for the month of December was, see if you can guess what it was.
The average sales price. 398.
351,290.
Okay.
But that's up almost 14% from prior year.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, it also goes to show you too that just because it's December, people think like, oh, nobody's selling their house or there's no activity. This goes to show you that you can't. History is always not an indication of the future. So
That's
yeah,
right. Especially with like a year like COVID, and I think
right.
Yeah, I think people were thinking like, okay, if I'm gonna make a change, whatever that is, let's just go ahead and do it, which is good.
Right.
That's good. I think some big changes happened with the mortgage rates here recently that I want to talk about, right?
Yeah, they shot up a little bit. There's been a lot of things that were leading up to that, but so they shot up because of the whole election thing, and then last Thursday, Friday, there was some easing off of it because of stimulus talks, and then there was a bond auction that there was a lot of aggressive investors in the bond auction, which basically said that there's appetite for mortgage-backed securities, and so that kind of eased off. The rates kind of came back down a little bit to not to exactly the same levels they were before it hiked up, but close to it. But rates are still like great. I mean, you're getting. I priced out a couple 750 plus borrowers this morning. I had 3 applications come in yesterday. I'm kind of working on them today. They're in the mid to high 2s. Like that's insane. So rates are still great.
They're still in the mid to high 2s.
For, of course, with certain factors, yes,
Right.
not for everybody, but
Right.
but
Good
yeah,
credit score,
good
things like
credit
that.
score, good down payment, yeah, good, yeah, for sure. Yep.
A good down payment is what, like,
I mean, you're going to get the best pricing when you put it like 20% down, of course.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, you know, but it's not going to be like a 1/4% difference between 5% and 20%. You know,
Okay.
you may be like, depending on lender, maybe like an eighth, a little bit less than an eighth when it comes to rates. So it all kind of is, it kind of goes on, you know, the day, of course, too, because there's been days where I priced out a 30-year rate, and then I priced it like a 25 or a 20, and the 25 or 20 was higher than the 30-year. That just means there wasn't any appetite. There wasn't a lot of appetite for that particular coupon
Oh.
on the secondary market. And so they'll do that. Sometimes you'll see that, you know, from week to week where it's like kind of confusing. Wait a minute, 20 years should be better than a 30, or, you know, and it's just not the case sometimes. So it all kind of
Interesting.
depends, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that that goes on on the secondary
So,
markets.
I mean, what are you like? I know we kind of touched on this a couple weeks ago, but like, what are you, because you know, I think that I think that for the people that are even considering moving, right, buying a house, what do you see happening in the next 30 days? Like with the rates, specifically based on what's going on with the election?
Um, the rates are going to probably be hovering around these levels for
Okay.
at least I think into, you know, all the way into the second quarter. Q3, you know, we may see something. There's talks that there's, you know, that the rates are, of course, they're going to go up. Okay. Once
Yes.
we get this COVID thing under control, and once we get the vaccines out there, once we get more people back to work, the more money there is to spend. And there, of course, the rates are going to go up, you know. This is keeping the economy stimulated to keep these rates down to basically entice, you know, potential clients that were maybe on the fence,
Yeah.
that to get off the fence and to do something.
Right.
And, you know, I've seen a lot of cash outs too. A lot of people are taking some equity out of their houses too for, you know, going from a 4.25 rate, you know, down to a 2 point, I'm just saying, you know, for a cash out to like let's just say 2.8, you know,
Right.
cashing out $50 to $100,000, and their payments, you know, not that much more than what it was currently without that cash out. So there's a lot, you know, there's a lot of, there's, with these rates being so low, it's like just a no-brainer when it comes to a refi, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, for last week as well, what also caused the Fed chairman Powell, he spoke about inflation and things like
Right.
that. So, and talking about the bond purchases, the bond purchase program, and so that helped kind of bring the rates back down a little bit too. So, it's, you know, we'll see. I don't think that they can't pop. I don't personally think that they can shoot up in, you know, in the next 30, 60, 90 days. I was reading an article about 2013 where they called it the taper tantrum, because they had the quantitative easing and they had to taper off the buying of the mortgage-backed securities, and that rates shot up like a point and a half in just a few weeks.
I
So
think that's when I ended up making my first house purchase.
really,
It was April, May of 2013, and my rate went up like a point, like within 30 days. And
but I guess you weren't locked in.
uh-uh.
Yeah, then
Oh, I
that's
didn't.
probably it. That's probably it. That's probably exactly it. It's, you know, where the quantitative easing came into play because they were buying so many mortgage-backed securities to keep, you know, just basically printing money is really all it is. And they talk about stopping doing that, so not printing money anymore, and then just through the roof. I mean, and it was That was quick, and that doesn't normally happen. It doesn't really ever happen, but
And
but
it was
yeah,
brutal. And it changed what I could afford.
100%.
I mean, it
Between
was brutal.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you want, we'll go from a 3% rate to a 4% rate on a $300,000 house, then I need to make sure my notifications are turned off here. Hold on. Okay, sorry. um, that could be thousands of dollars over the life of the loan.
Yeah.
You know,
Um,
4%.
so, I mean, I think that like I want to be able to advise my clients. It's tough, right? Because I think that buyers, for the most part, do have a sense of urgency, right? The problem is finding the inventory on the other side. So if somebody is even thinking about selling, it's like, let's get it on the market now, because
Yeah,
this is a very favorable environment to get your house sold for the most money because the rates are so low. When the rates go up, it's going to change what you're going to be able to get as a sales price
correct.
for your house. And that's linking everything together. That's painting a full picture. And I
Right.
think that is so important for people to understand that the rates are going to go up.
Correct. They're 100%. Yeah, you can't stay at these levels forever. Yeah,
And when that happens, the sales price is it's going to correct because of
correct.
affordability. Yes,
Right,
inventory is still low, so that's going to boost it a little bit. But if nobody can afford to buy that price point,
right. Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, you're nailing the head. You're saying some good points here, for sure.
um, what about talks of like inflation and like what that does? Like, what do I've seen some chatter about that.
Well, they're going to try to keep the inflation at or around the 2% mark. They're saying that that's a fine percentage, a fine area to be at when it comes to inflation. Um, Inflation isn't the greatest for mortgage-backed securities on the secondary market. So, the higher the inflation, the worse it's going to be. So there, and I don't know. I don't want to speak out of term. When it comes to, there's a lot that I don't understand about inflation
Right.
and how, with
Yeah, it's a
markets and how they
very,
drive.
yeah,
It's, and so
complicated.
I just know that, they're trying to keep the inflation rate around the 2% mark. Because I guess any higher than that, then that state's gonna run hot, which I'm not really I don't really understand what that means, um, but it's this, if we can keep it around the 2% mark, then these rates are gonna, stay around this level, up, of course, up or down just a little bit, for next little while.
Now, do you think talks of this massive stimulus package that Biden has on his first 10 or 100 days or whatever? Do you think? I mean, it's one, isn't it 1.8 or 9 trillion or something?
It's yeah,
I mean,
it's a lot.
I feel like what does that do? Does that change anything that you see on your end, or is it more of a delayed effect? Like what is your take on that?
So when the markets last week, when everything the last whatever week, when everything kind of changed up with the Georgia Senate election, and all that, and more states going blue, it, the markets basically were building that, since they knew that now it's probably going to be more democratic on on the Senate side, and they're going to be able to get a lot of stuff through. The markets have already were since that day were kind of building in the stimulus because they knew it was coming. They just didn't know exactly what it was going to entail, and now we
Right.
know. And
Okay.
so there wasn't a huge impact on for the bond market when the stimulus came out, but there's a couple different things. The Fed spoke. the stimulus, Biden talked about the stimulus, so that kind of eased off. And then there was the auction for the 30-year notes. And so that it went well. There was a lot of appetite for that. So they kind of came back down. They're seesawing. I mean, I think I've posted a couple stories with, like, you can see the graph going.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I mean, people, I mean, I can't speak for all people, obviously, but like, for myself, who's not, my level of understanding of the finance market is through you, and just like my time as a real estate agent, loosely following it. And when I see numbers, when I see those graphs like that, it's like, wait, this isn't normal. Or
No,
what do we do? You know what I mean? Like, what can we advise our clients, so that they're making smart decisions?
So in my personal opinion, I try to wait around, I think anything longer than 30 days, do not lock, unless we know for sure there are things coming out that are going to affect it negatively, that we know without a shadow of a doubt the rates are going up, then yes, we lock.
Right.
But my recommendation, anything 30 plus days out, let it float. Let it float. And because I watch them daily. I mean, like I have another screen for just my mortgage-backed securities, and 10-year treasury and all that. 22 days, within the 22-day mark is when I like to go ahead and pull the trigger. So I'll price it. Usually going to get really good pricing in that 20 to 22-day window. You're going to get better pricing on like a 15-day or an 11, but there's it's too close of a window to where, because, the market took it went crazy, for 2 days. And then for 2 days, it came back down last week. So I know there's constant corrections going on, there's knee-jerk reactions, and then there's corrections going on. And so I'm like, all right. But if it doesn't correct itself within a week or two, then you don't have any more time to wait. So I think in that 20 to 22-day window, and if you're happy, and it's I call my clients to say, hey, if you're happy with this is where the rate at. Sometimes, if we don't lock it, they'll agree not to lock it, and they know that it could be a little bit higher or it could go a little bit lower. So some of them, but in 0.025 or an eighth of a percent, not that big of a difference in the whole grand scheme of things. But in that 22-day window, as I say, all right, you're happy with it, you're happy with this rate, you're happy with the payment, then just lock it and then look back. And if you want to keep it floating, we're 100%, you can. Right. But just understand that it could go either way. But if you're happy, the main thing is, are you happy with the payment? Right. If you're like, then why worry about it?
Right.
Don't just go ahead and lock it in.
Because it's stress. You're in stress until. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I have many sleepless nights when I got my pipelines in float status.
Yeah.
Okay. Many sleepless nights.
Well, that's what I'm just going to brag on you for a second, Angelo, because I think that how you watch the markets like you do, and how you advise your clients, and those sweet spots, and you are so good about advice, like, all right, let's go, pull the trigger, or hang on, let's it's gonna, and you are, that is so valuable. And what happened to me in 2013, I didn't have a good broker that was advising me right on these things. And so that is valuable. And that is, I think that you do such an amazing job with that. And that's so important. And you're not going to get that level of service from everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Because I know
it took a long time to kind of figure out the markets. And, I do have a lot of experience under my belt when it comes to that. And then there was a couple of years where I just kind of really dove in to my business where, yes, I knew the loans and programs and blah, 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 but let me get better at this, because I used to say, this is when I first started, a couple of years after I first started, Oh, well, if I had a crystal ball, I could tell you what the rates are going to do. Well, you know what? That was for the uneducated Angelo that used to do that back in the day. Well, I've educated myself, and yeah, I don't have a crystal ball, but I know enough to
Yeah.
kind of, you know what I'm saying? I know what's going to happen, you know, in 6, 8, 12 months. Of course, if no catastrophe happens, you know. So I'm staying abreast of the markets, and this program that I watch it daily. I get like, so if I'm out, I get alerts on my phone. Hey, negative price risk increase. Lenders may reprice. And so if I have some people on the fence that are kind of at that window, and say, hey, you know, if they reprice, it could be worse for you. Do you want to lock? Or do you not want to lock? And usually I haven't. If they do want to, I have enough time to, you know, I can even lock a loan from my phone. So,
God, Angelo, that's so like that is so huge. I mean, I'm not even kidding because people get priced out of their contracts, of their houses, of their purchases in seconds sometimes.
yeah, right.
And you're
Yeah.
just like, wait, what? How does that even happen? That's how I was. I was like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. And there's still a lot of stuff that doesn't really quite calculate correctly in my brain. There's so much to know, you know.
Yes, of
Um,
course.
yeah.
But
But you
you
know,
watch it and
I do.
that and you and I think that just no, obviously you and I are not like magicians. We don't have crystal balls, but what we do have is historical data. We can dive into you. I mean, that's what you and I do. We spend most days just reading up
Yeah.
on what's
Yeah.
happening, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And that, Angelo, I mean, that's so huge. So
Thanks, Ash.
I had to give you a little pat on the back.
Appreciate
Um,
that.
yeah. But speaking too of reading articles, that article you sent too of from U-Haul
Yeah. Right.
about
I thought you'd find that interesting.
yes,
Yeah. I figured Texas would have been number one, but it wasn't.
really?
Tennessee was number one.
I know. I was really shocked by that. And so it was funny because last night James and I kind of went through and I looked at so the top 10 for so basically the article we're referring to, it wasn't an MS
I
what
think it was one of those, like maybe Apple News or something. I
yeah.
forget which one it was, but yeah, they did an article on U-Haul. U-Haul did with their stats of one ways from and to and all that. And so yeah, go
From
ahead.
states. Yeah,
Yeah,
migration
interstate.
patterns.
Yeah, in
Um,
California was like the worst. Nobody's going to
loser.
California. Right. They're nobody's going to California anymore. They're all
Yeah,
leaving California.
yeah.
So,
Which we've seen. We've like you know I've kind of seen that you know I've in a lot of articles for a plethora of reasons people are leaving. But
yeah.
I thought so. North Carolina was number 9 on
Was
that
it number
list.
9?
Yeah,
Yeah, for the top 3. Oh yeah, okay. All right. I'll have to look I think you're right. If I remember
and
correctly.
and then prior year North Carolina was number 3.
Yes. It's like, okay. All right. We're getting
And
beat. Hey.
I know. So I started looking at, okay, what are the top 10 in 2020? What were the top 10 in 2019? And what I thought was interesting, and I didn't even like recognize this pattern, James did. He was like, yeah, the top states in 2020, the cost of living is significantly cheaper. Um, like like Tennessee, right? Like the ones that I was really surprised about was like Ohio. I was like, what? I know. I mean, no offense to like if you're from Ohio, but I
Yeah,
mean, it's
sorry,
like
but not sorry.
I know. I'm like, what's going on? Because that Ohio was like ranked up there, and then the prior year it was like number I don't know, it was like way lower on the list. And I was like, and Missouri too. I was like, what? And James is like, it's the cost of living, you know, because he's analyzing right now because they're going to open a West Coast division.
Yeah.
He's analyzing the cost of living in these states.
Oh wow.
And so
Yeah,
he's
so
like,
I guess you have to if you're doing
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So, and
Interesting.
Utah too was on the top 10 in 2019, and it flew down the list. I mean, I just think that that's so interesting that it looked like in 2019 people weren't really concerned. I mean, yes, there's always a level of concern with cost of living when you're relocating. But then in 2020, you can tell that those states that were in the top 10 all had low cost of living.
Low cost of living. Interesting. That's what's up.
You know, I'm a nerd like that. I like to really dive into
yeah,
that.
Right?
That like that's what we do, you know? That's
right.
what makes us good at what we do.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh, so just to throw it out there, we for all of my deals that are going to my main lender, my main numero uno lender, the appraisals, guaranteed 10 business day turn time with appraisals, and if not, the borrower gets refunded 50% of the appraisal fee.
Wow.
That is an appraisal promise that we're making.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that they're going to make it?
Well, we've ordered a few. One of them is it took a few days to get assigned, and I don't know. It's kind of a tough property too. It's a log cabin that has about 3 acres, and there's an ADU on the parcel, which is an accessory dwelling unit, and it's a mobile home. And he called like 5 or 6 different lenders, said, no, you can't do that. Well, Fannie Mae guidelines, they do allow you, they do fund those types of loans with an accessory dwelling unit if it's a mobile home that's on 1 acre, as long as the appraiser gives it no value. And it's got to be, of course, it's got to be pinned down and have like the manufacturer stamps and everything on it. So it had to have been done correctly. Right. when they brought the mobile home to the property. So
when they attached it to
when they attach it, correct. So that's TBD. You know, that may or may not be a deal that is going to close. But I said, hey man, it's on with the appraiser. I can't come out there and make that call for you because this was like, I don't know, in like Olin, North Carolina or something. You know, somewhere
interesting
out there. Yeah. But hey, if it goes through, it goes through, and if it don't, and you know, because they weren't sure if the mobile home had all the, you know, the specifications required for all that, and I was like, well, he's like, can I take you some pictures? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, no.
No.
We're gonna need to get a little bit more in depth on this.
Absolutely not. Yeah, no, not gonna happen.
Yeah, takes like his fingers over part of the
right.
You're like, oh.
Yeah, I'm like, and it doesn't even matter what I say; it's what the appraiser says.
That's right.
I was like, you know, you're just gonna have to bite the bullet and pay for an appraisal.
Yeah, for sure, especially on something like that.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. That's gonna be a tough one. So
interesting. Okay,
yeah.
that's a good incentive. Like especially right now, like so ways to be competitive in today's really hot market are a short due diligence time period for buyers. So like being able to get an appraisal guaranteed within 10 days that's a game changer. I mean, that's absolutely critical right now.
And you know, because there's been such an issue with appraisals, so I mean, they have a lot of pull. They kind of went to the AMCs that we use and like, look, there's going to be no more price gouging these clients for, and 3-week, 4-week turn times for these appraisals. No, we have you as the AMCs. You're going to put your money, where your mouth is, because they're all about speed. UWM, they're speed. Like they want it to close. They want it to close now. So if somebody else is holding them up, they're going to make sure that they don't help. They're going to correct. Yeah. And so of course they're going to guarantee. And of course, if it's not back in that 10-day period, then they're going to be getting a refund of the 50%. So
is with the appraisals are like, I mean, because the cost of appraisal is pretty much, you can pretty much nail what it's going to be, right?
Yeah. Depending on program, it's either going to be around, I'd say anywhere from 465 to let's say 525. So let's just say average 500.
Does it depend on the size of the house?
If it's like a really, really, really big house, they may upcharge for that. But other than that, no.
And does it depend on the time frame that the client needs it back? Well, I mean,
if you can order a rush, or you can ask for it to be rushed. Of course, there's going to be an additional. I think rushes are around 150. And if the appraiser agrees to get it back, so if you say 7 days or 6, if you need it, and if the appraiser can accommodate that, then it's in addition to the appraisal fees, the rush fee.
okay. So that's all really good to know. I mean, 9 times out of 10, an appraisal within 10 days is like all I need for like our clients that are under
Right.
contract. That'll meet that due diligence, that shorter due diligence time period that we've negotiated to be more competitive, and to make our offer more appealing to sellers.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I thought I wanted to share that with you. Yeah. So let's get them rocking.
So I think that some takeaways from today are: make sure Angela's your lender.
And make sure Ashley's your realtor as well.
And if you are going to sell or thinking about selling, let's do it, especially in this next 30 days, because as rates increase, which it's inevitable that they will, it's probably not going to happen for the first quarter or the second quarter, but they might fluctuate tiny bit, but that's going to affect affordability for buyers. And if you're buying, let's roll.
Right.
Cool.
That's it.
All right.
Well, cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Who was ever still on the call or the Insta Live. Yeah. Until next week. Thanks everybody.
Yes.
Like us, follow us, share us, tell your people.
Yes. And if you have a question, our contact information will be in the show notes. We appreciate any kind of likes, saves, or shares that you do on Instagram with this live. The more eyeballs we get on here, the better. And it's very, it's a huge compliment to us. And we just want to make sure that we're putting out the best value.
Yes, and please, if you don't know, if you have questions, feel free to send us a message. Send us a question. No question is stupid when it comes to real estate. Well, no question is stupid, period. But
that's right.
There's, especially with real estate, no question is stupid because there's a lot of unknowns. So
that's right. So we will see y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye bye.